Let's just rewind real quick just to remind you guys that this is a 400 HP offlaner, almost full HP carry, and he's about to take him down 700 HP with 80 mana. This hero is absolutely absurd if it played correctly. Welcome back, everybody. Today is going to be the third day of the new patch, and with it, I would like to give a guide on how to play Primal Beast, a little bit of a conceptual first impressions and what I've seen from some of the top players and how they're interpreting the hero.
Banana slam jam.
So if you look at Primal Beast's kit, his first spell is somewhat like Marcy's Rebound. It's a really long-range gap close. That early game when heroes lack move speed and mobility, it's very hard to dodge. You can also turn it while you're running, and it does a pretty good amount of damage. But if you look at it, pretty high mana cost, and the cooldown scaling's kind of meh, and same with the stun duration. So because he's a strength hero with low mana, this isn't an ability you're going to max out. The max distance and run speed is constant, so this is going to be a 1-point wonder in almost every single game from what I've seen so far. And also, because he's like Marcy in that sense, his initiation is reliable early, but not so reliable later. He tends to buy a later blink, but not like a first item blink. So then we're going to go to his next ability, Trample, which every time he moves 140 units, so that means it's based on his movement speed, he tramples over the units, and it's also based on his damage. So this is his primary farming skill, as well as damage dealing skill whenever he's trying to gank. It's similar to Marcy's ultimate, but instead of doing a shit ton of damage by auto-attacking people, he's doing consistent damage by standing on top of you. So I like to compare it to Marcy because she's a new hero, and because their kits are actually somewhat similar. So when it comes to synergizing with Trample, you want to buy phase boots almost every single game, and it's also your primary farming skill. So ideally, we want to max it either first or second, and with the new buffs that we're going to talk about with Primal Beast, it's much more viable to max this in order to farm. Thirdly, we're going to talk about Uproar, which is his passive. This is a passive that when you take damage, it allows you to activate stacks similar to Centaur's old Retaliate, and these stacks give you armor as well as damage. So what's so nice about this skill is that it has very little downtime, and it also has no mana cost. So because he's a strength hero with mana issues, it's almost crucial that you utilize this in lane. I've seen the skill build predominantly be either maxing Trample or maxing Uproar, kind of depending on the matchup, how often you plan to be farming or killing compared to just trading. Uproar is more of the trading spell, Trampling is more of the killing / farming spell. And then if you look at his ultimate, I compare it to Marcy's Toss, but instead of tossing them back, you're locking him down in place. It's kind of like a Fiend's Grip as well. You're channeling it. It's pretty good damage. It's much lower duration, but look at the cooldown, right? It's less than 30 seconds on max level, 24 seconds. So this is like a low cooldown, single target, nuking pick-off ability. It's not the greatest for team fights unless you have a BKB because somebody can just cancel it, but it also stuns the people around. So it's a very powerful ultimate compared to the cooldown that it has. The Primal Beast did have a really low win rate right when he came out, and so a lot of people may be thinking he's not that good, wait till he gets buffed or whatever, but he already got buffed as of February 24th. If you look here, the biggest things are his mana cost on max level Trample, which allows him to spam this in order to farm with much less mana problems, and then also all of his abilities just got quality of life. Run speed, turn, cooldown, base damage, Uproar stack duration, everything about him got massively buffed. So I think he's actually pretty broken now, and once people really start utilizing him properly, we will see him be used for free MMR, at least in the short term. So I do believe that Primal Beast is a low cooldown skirmisher, similar to Marcy, but he can farm. That's the biggest difference for me. He doesn't have as much solo kill potential, but he has way more farming potential. So the two roles I think he's good at are mid and off lane. I think he's potentially a support, but with these recent buffs, especially to the Trample, I think you're going to be able to get a lot more farm on him, and thus he becomes a core. The player we're going to be using today is Ice Ice Ice. I watched a bit of his stream, and he had two really powerful games on Primal Beast, and right now I'm going to show you his build. So he plays Primal Beast in both of these games right here. His build was different in terms of skill build, but the idea of the item build is the same. He starts with Double Bracer, really value later on as well. And then he goes for Phase Hood or Hood Phase with a wand, and then it's some Kaya item. In one game, he goes E-Blade for damage, and the other he goes Sanj and Kaya for the durability. So what I want to talk about is that Primal Beast's kit is pretty simple. When you look at this Uproar spell, when you take damage, you can activate it in order to take less damage and then kill people. So the way this hero can be played is that he wants to be able to take damage and then turn the fight. So that innately means he wants survivability. His abilities alone will do a ton of damage. So it's not nearly as much about how much damage can I do, it's how long can I live to deal the damage. There are two ways to play this hero, as an on-map pressure hero or an on-map pick-off hero. You'd rather be an on-map pressure hero because that's going to allow you to farm. And that's usually going to mean you had to win your lane and you had to snowball. And with that in mind, you're going to utilize Trample plus Uproar to do tons of damage, be very difficult to go on, and be able to turn fights or start them whenever you so choose. That build's going to be the hood into a Kaya item, Sanj and Kaya, some build like this that allows you to low cooldown, constantly skirmish. But if you're having a tough game and you're not able to show on lanes, you're much more likely to be an off-map hero that goes something along the lines of Soul Ring, Blink, BKB. Because this is going to allow you to utilize your ultimate, be reliable initiation, and you'll still be pretty good wave clear when it comes to your first two spells. But that's only a build I think you should go if you are losing. Okay, if you are winning, I think you should be a much more farm-heavy, low cooldown-based hero. So let's go ahead and get into Ice Ice Ice's replay and talk about what he does. So both games from Ice Ice Ice, he went the same starting item build. Nothing changed from last patch to this patch. Side lanes, regen, not really too much of a thing. He's going pure stats, Quelling Blade got nerfed, and Bracer getting double value at 25 minutes scales a lot better. So he's kind of skimping out on regen because Bracer gives pretty good regen, and Primal Beast's entire kit is based on durability and damage. So if you compare Bracer to Soul Ring, Bracer is 500 gold, and it gives 8 damage, while Soul Ring is 700 gold, and it gives 6 damage. So while Soul Ring seems nice on a hero like this, he doesn't really have an item he naturally wants to go to sustain other than Hood or Vanguard, and these items usually come out later because he's able to skirmish pretty early on, and he relies on movement speed to do so. So he usually wants to go at least Brown Boots Wand, or maybe even Phase Boots, before buying these items. So if you go early Soul Ring, you're going to have some sustain issues. So in order to have a consistent power spike, from what I've seen from Ice Ice Ice, this is the build. I think if you're losing, you can go a later Soul Ring, but if you want to win your lane, which I think this hero is quite capable of doing with his really high base damage and pretty decent base armor, combining this with the 10 base bonus damage you get from Uproar, you should have no problem CSing, and you should be really good at trading. So in one game, I saw him take his first spell in order to get a First Blood, but in general, I think that's only going to be the case if you're going for First Blood. Otherwise, you'd much rather just take the free damage, kind of similar to Luna, as Primal Beast trades pretty well, as you see. You don't really want to hit him. As you see what's happening here, if they hit him, he just pops his passive. And he trades really well, guarantees CS, hits for 128. That's after Tiny hit him 3 times. So if you're not already convinced that this hero could potentially be insanely broken, we'll continue to show you what Ice 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 does with this hero. So he tends to start out the lane pretty passive, as Primal Beast has really good passive CSing. But once he gets a second point, he's going to look to trade with you. And I think ideally at level 2, you'd like to be 0-1-1. Because anytime you get on top of them, you just do so much damage. And you're going to see it in a bit here. Already has the double Bracer super early on in the lane. Uses all 3 spells to force out a reaction. I think 1-1-1 will be very standard. All 3 of your spells have very high utility. Trample gives you trading and kill potential. Your Q gives you escape. And your Uproar is just a free trading spell. He does a lot of cool aggro mechanics that keep the lane near his tower, and that's something you guys can watch him do. That's really cool. But aside from that, mainly pay attention to his skill and item build. This video is brought to you guys by Skillshare, an online learning community with thousands of classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in your own creativity. We've got a new patch that just came out. And with the new patch, I want to have a more organized approach. So this time around, I watched a class on note-taking. Just like I am at Dota, I'm quite a noob at note-taking. So I decided to take a beginner's class by a girl who goes by the handle of Emily Studying. She's a university student in Canada, and you can find her very actively on Instagram posting her notes for you. Just like I am with Dota, I'm quite a noob at note-taking. So I decided to watch a beginner's class by Emily. There are thousands of classes on Skillshare, and they cover all types of subjects. And don't rely on me to take all the notes for you on the upcoming patch. The first 1,000 people that use the link in the description of this video will get a free month premium trial membership. don't miss this chance to learn how to take some notes. So in terms of mana, you notice that he has some issues. So in order to solve these issues, I think in most lanes, you'll go these 2 items. Remember what I talked about. This hero has sustain issues. You don't want to go Soul Ring because you don't have any natural sustain in your kit this early. So you want to go items that give you mana, but also give you health, and they definitely don't cost you health. So this seems like the build he's gone every game. He gets double Bracer into either boots or just straight wand plus raindrops. I think the boots are pretty crucial because of the fact that trample does damage based on how fast you travel, or how fast you move. So he goes for purely mana-based sustain items. The thing about Primal Beast is, with just levels, he gets insane strength. So you can go for high-value, cheap items. Look how much damage this does. After he just takes damage, and he let's just rewind that. All they did was go on him. He pops his passive afterwards, uses trample, and kills this IO full to 0. Absolutely insane damage that all he has to do is be alive. So please, build items that keep you alive. These raindrops were crucial, as that extra 120 damage block was massive along with the stick charges. So notice his idea. If you can't go on me, I own you. As long as he doesn't die full to 0, this hero is an absolute menace. He buys his first set of regen at 6 minutes into the game. You may have to buy yourself a tango or 2, but remember how he played defensive aggro very passively for the early game. So in this game, he was having a bit of sustain issues, so he elected to go for the hood before phase boots. In the previous game, he wasn't having nearly as much sustain issues, so he went for phase boots before hood. The items are the same, it's just a matter of what you're having issues with at any current point. You can take stacks with trample, incredibly good farming skill. He's already level 6, so his kill potential is really high. And you may say, BSJ, they're winning by a lot or whatever, but I think his hero is single-handedly winning the lane 1v2. So the fact that you have an offlaner that can predominantly play by himself and wins his lane, I think most games, if played properly, will end up something like this. Maybe not quite this bad because your other lanes are losing, but his hero alone is insanely powerful. So in this game, there's a lot of skirmishing, a lot of trading and sustaining. So I think this build is better. Previous game, he maxed this. Honestly, I would probably lean towards maxing trample. I would go 1-4-1, most likely into 1-4-4 every single game. It just seems more reliable. Just look how tanky he is. As long as he can't die full to 0, he will do a ton of damage. And yes, he ends up dying, but the enemy team's going to pay the price for it. The idea is, all you want to do on this hero is consistently play up in the face of the opponent, low cooldown, all of his items scream value, low cooldown, run at you. That's all his items scream. So in this game, he's dealing with predominantly magic damage, carry tiny, early's magic damage, Grimstroke, Spear Breaker, Storm. So he goes for the hood. But if you're dealing with a carry like PL or a lot of physical damage, you can look to go Vanguard instead of hood. So just note that this item slot is going to be some item that gives you durability against whatever source of damage the opponent has. So what I've known Ice likes to do is after he takes this tower, he either goes to this tower if it's still there, but he has a mid-death profit and they're winning. So he rotates there and gets a quick kill. Or he TPs to the dangerous part of the map with this type of item build and just prevents the opponent from getting anything. This hero can stand in front of towers very reliably since he's always got his cooldowns available. He's always a threat. It's very difficult to go on him. So this is a great use of this hero's kit. But now that he's put himself in the dangerous part of the map, just preventing the enemy team from getting really anything. He's always ready to battle. As you see, he has mana issues. But when it comes to farming, since they changed this from 105 mana to 75, it never really feels like he runs out in the case of farming. And since he's got stick charges always available, he's going to fly himself a few clarities here and there. But honestly, you only really need this spell and this spell when you're killing people. Otherwise, you only use these 2 spells. And it's a total of 75 mana on a 21-second cooldown. So you can't even, like, run out of mana that fast unless you're fighting. So this ends up being his items every single game that I've seen him play recently. It makes a lot of sense to me. In this game, he even queues up the Sanj and Kaya, similar to what he did last game. But they were snowballing pretty hard, and he wanted that extra bit of damage to kill the Storm, so he ends up going E-Blade. E-Blade makes a lot of sense with your W spell, because your W spell is based on right-clicking damage, but it is magic damage. So you want to E-Blade somebody, prevent them from being able to fight back, and then just trample on top of them. So as an item, it makes a lot of sense for his kit. The idea of this hero is that he is spell damage based, but he needs to be durable. So you need to be tanky enough to survive, and then once you're tanky enough to survive, You build items that make your spells do more damage. BKB, I think, is only a must if you absolutely need it. But ideally, you'd rather have people cast spells on you. You don't want them to ignore you in the fight. You want to be such a threat, running at them constantly, that if you're in their face, they can't really do much about it. But honestly, I don't really see how this hero doesn't win his lane. And I don't see how you prevent this type of situation from happening. You can just constantly run at the opponent. Does insane damage for free. And even though both of the games I watched of his were relative stomps, it didn't feel like he did anything fancy. It feels like all he did was build tanky and run at the opponent. Or trample over them, shall we say. So when it comes to mana issues, early game, yes, you're definitely going to have some. But once you get this Kaya-based item, you're not going to have them anymore. And that's why I think he goes for the Sanjin Kaya / E-Blade build. Because early game, he's going to have some mana issues, but it's going to be patched up like right then and there. And like I said, if you're having a really bad game, just go for the Soul Ring BKB. Soul Ring's going to give you some sustain issues, perhaps, but it's going to allow you to farm the map and then show up to team fights. But this is the I'm winning snowball build. So if you are winning, do not go Soul Ring BKB, guys. Do this exact type of build and just look at how easily you kill people. So notice how he constantly TPs from one side of the map to the other, kills creep waves with trample, and then runs to his team. It's pretty constant. Like game plan, really high lane pressure, really fast movement speed and mobility around the map, constantly hunting. And you're just going to see the damage output that this hero can do, even against core heroes. And this is what happens, right? He sees a hero on the map, he's going to chase. He's invading, he sees a hero show. This hero is absolutely absurd. He's a hero with the highest strength gain in all of Dota, and he also has a 2000 range gap closing spell. So you're going to see a tiny show on the bottom half of the map. He's immediately going to TP. He's going to chase him down, because not only is he a threat to Tiny, but he's got 2,100 HP at 17 minutes. He sees Tiny again. He's going to chase him to the ends of the earth. And he's going to end up catching him before he TPs. So you've got 2 stuns to cancel TPs, your Q as well as your ultimate. And you have insane amount of chase and mobility, all on super low cooldowns. His longest cooldown is his Pulverize at a 24-second cooldown. So this has been the story of the games for Ice Ice Ice. When it comes to mid to late game, you definitely need a blink. Strength blink, I think, is a strong consideration to synergize with your trample and running all over them. Other items to consider are probably like Abyssal, anything that gives you right-click damage, a little bit of lockdown, and some tankiness. But honestly, I haven't really seen any Primal Beast games go that far. When he's this far ahead, or just in generally played as a core correctly. So yeah, guys, get out there, get that free MMR Primal Beast guide. I'll give some updates on the hero, if they change him at all, or if something comes into the meta that changes my perspective on the hero. But I think this seems like a pretty clear-cut game plan for the hero, and definitely go get that free MMR. See you guys later. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.